What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today we are doing a second video, and the second video today is actually going to be part 3 of our mini series here on Madden 20, with our focus on scouting and drafting and giving some tips here and there in between. Today we're jump right into it. If you guys are familiar with the series, make sure you hit that like button. If you guys want to see me continue this series after this episode, this was planned to be the third and final episode. Make sure you let me know by leaving a like on the video. Make sure you let me know by leaving a comment that I can potentially continue this series afterwards if it's something that you guys want to see. But with all of that being said, we're going to go ahead and we're going to look at our free agent class and who we're actually going to bid on today and exactly how we're going to bid on all these players. And I did make a couple moves to try and bolster the team in a somewhat realistic fashion, so we will see how all these things play out. So the first bid that I wanted to put in for the team is I wanted to go in on Larry Warford. Larry Warford is 29 years old. The reason that I decided to go with him over Kelechi Osemele is that Osemele's 31 years old and he wanted a multi-year deal. I don't feel like I can afford to give a multi-year deal to a guy that's 31 years old. I don't really feel comfortable with that, so we're going to avoid doing that, and we're going to try to give a 2-year deal to Larry Warford. Now, Warford wants a 3-year deal, so chances are he might not accept our offer. Now, the reason that we're still giving him an offer is because if we increase the signing bonus enough and give him enough guaranteed money, we can get our offer up high enough that it's, 10 or so, 9 points higher than everybody else. So he would potentially decide to sign that offer for us for 2 years. I don't want to give him a 3-year offer because by the time that he is 31, 32 years old, he might not be as good. And I'm only comfortable giving him 2 years. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to give him 2 years. We increase the signing bonus quite a bit. And I figured while we have the money to throw it around, we're going to throw around the money and try to sign these guys, to shorter term deals. That way we can build the team behind good players like Larry Warford. With that being said, we had the same mindset going with Delanie Walker. We don't need a tight end necessarily, and Delanie Walker is not the biggest upgrade in the world to Uzomah, but what I will say is adding a guy like Delanie Walker could help us out tremendously in the receiving game. He's a really good receiving tight end, and not only that, he's a good blocking tight end. He's a very well-rounded tight end, and I think he could help this team out. So I don't see any reason that I wouldn't, since we do have the money. So I'm throwing him a 1-year offer. I'm giving him more guaranteed money than what he was asking for, and hopefully he'll sign that. Like I said, if there were other teams bidding or other teams decide to bid, chances are he might not sign with us, but being that he's a 36-year-old player, I would say chances are slim that he gets any other offers from other teams, and that's another reason why we decided to bid on Warford, because if, let's say, Warford decides to go with another team, I doubt Osemele is going to get any offers right off the bat because he is 31 years old. And knowing the Madden system, teams tend not to extend offers to older players like that. So let's say for us week 2 for us to be able to bid on him if that's something we wanted to do. Let's go back to my negotiations and look at our top 100. In addition to that, I'm deciding to overpay for a linebacker because our linebackers need help. Darren Lee is a good 25-year-old player. He's got star, which means he'll get up into the 80s for us by the time he's done progressing. And so we're going to offer Darren Lee a contract, but I'm not going to overpay for him. I'm not increasing my offer far beyond what the Texans are offering him because I'm not comfortable paying him more than what we are offering him. So if I click into him, he's right now being offered close to $10 million a year. I don't even want to give him that much money, but because we are so thin at linebacker and this draft class doesn't necessarily look the best at linebacker, I want to give myself some assurance that we could potentially help our linebacking core. So we're making the offer for Darren Lee at around $10 million, a little under $10 million, around 9.8, 4 years to take him up through age 29. Hopefully this deal turns out for us. Like I said, I'm not going to overpay for a guy like this because he's really not that good, to start with. In addition to that, I figured we can't hurt to bolster our secondary. There are a lot of good corners out there, so I'm going to make an offer to a guy that I like, that is athletic and has the potential to be a decent corner for us, and we're going to make an offer to Vernon Hargraves III, 77 overall. He's not going to get much better than that, so he'll figure to be more of a rotational or depth type of corner. 90-point offer, not really overpaying on a player like that. In addition to that, I decided to cut Randy Bullock, the kicker, because he did go down in overall to around a 72. So we decided to make an offer to Brandon McManus. He's got a big leg, hopefully can help us get some more points. 97 kick power, star development, only 29 years old, so he'll stay around that overall for the next year or two. So I'm going to stick with Brandon McManus and hope to get him. We also decided to go after Anthony Sherman at fullback. Not a sexy move, in the least, but I figured while there's a 76 overall fullback out there, somebody that can help our team offensively in any way is probably a good add. So we're going to go ahead and give Anthony Sherman a short-term offer, a one-year deal at around $2.8 million, which really isn't that big of a deal. Then we decided we want to add some depth at safety, so we went ahead and gave Matthias Farley an offer. Matthias Farley, not an important add for us in any specific way, but I would like to add some depth at safety, so we did go ahead and extend him an offer. Not very expensive, not anything like that, so could be a good depth signing for us. We decided to, and actually I think I might pull this offer. Right now we're deciding to give Kelvin Beachum a one-year offer at left tackle as a rotational offensive lineman. It's a little high priced to give him this much money as a 70 overall, as a 31-year-old, especially being that we're going to be able to draft some people. So I think I'm actually going to take my offer off of him. And then we are deciding to actually give a quarterback a contract. And the reason that I'm deciding to give Jacob Eason a contract is this one's not the most realistic thing, but we need to give ourselves a legitimate backup quarterback option. And Jacob Eason is out there, and he's young. He could potentially develop into a starter someday. He's a really good player, and at the low price that he's asking for, I see no reason not to give him an offer. So with all that being said, let's go ahead and take a look at the roster, and I'll show you guys a couple of the moves that we made to try and bolster the roster. We decided to where's it at? We decided to slim down our wide receiving core, so we're keeping on Tyler Boyd, we're keeping John Ross, and then we're going to keep T. Higgins. Those are the young guys, those are the athletic guys. We decided to trade away Auden Tate to the Patriots because they are desperately in need of a wide receiver, and we brought back Joe Thuney in return. We sent them a draft pick as well. I think it was like a 4th-round pick and a 7th-round pick. The reason that we made that trade, and the reason that I find it to be realistic, is because the Patriots have potentially talked about getting rid of Thuney over the past season or so he's a realistic trade target. And not only that, they needed a wide receiver pretty badly, so we decided to help them out by giving them the wide receiver they need, a young guy that has star development, 78 overall, certainly a very good player for them. And we get an older veteran lineman, only 27 years old in return, 83 overall, and that helps out our offensive line immediately. So that's a good trade for us. We decided to trade away AJ Green. He went down to an 80 overall. Really would just kind of hold our other players back, prevent guys like T. Higgins and John Ross from getting playing time. So we're going to go ahead and we traded him away and got back a couple of draft picks for him. I think it was a 2nd or a 3rd or something of that nature. So that's what we have in terms of draft picks. Then on the defensive side of the ball, we also decided to trade away a couple draft picks in order to kind of bolster our D-line, because we see the future coming. Geno Atkins is going to regress eventually to the point where he's not serviceable anymore. So we brought in Harrison Phillips, who is a depth defensive tackle for the Buffalo Bills, but young enough that he could potentially develop into something for us, a good run stuffer, a player that could help us out in the future. And I think that is all we did in terms of moves. So let's go ahead and advance and see how free positions that I'm considering looking at, by the way, that we did not extend offers to, and I just wanted to see who would get signed after week 1 before we look at those positions. Those positions could be another halfback potentially. They could be things like maybe a depth wide receiver. All right, so we got Delaney Walker, which is good. We helped out our linebacking core by getting Darren Lee, which is a good deal there. We got our backup quarterback, really nice to see. Larry Warford rejected us. Who did he go to sign with? We'll have to see. We got our depth corner in Vernon Hargraves. We got our fullback. We got our kicker, and we got our depth safety. So we did work significantly to improve the depth of our team here, which is really nice to see. Let's go ahead and see. I want to see where Warford signed, just because I am curious. League signings, he should be right at the top. He decided to sign with the Cardinals. That is fine. And then I think Kaleki Assembly's still here. I don't see a reason to bid on him. I don't see a reason to bid on some of these other players. Let's go ahead and evaluate our team one more time real quick, just before we go ahead and advance into our scouting and everything, just to make sure that I'm comfortable with where we're at. Internet connection's not sufficient. I don't know if it's still streaming or not. It says we're still streaming. I don't know if there was a break there or not. Hopefully it's still going. We're gonna go ahead and move on from Dalagala here. Now that we have our backup quarterback, I'm hoping it's still streaming. I can't guarantee that. We're going to move on from some of these depth halfbacks just to clean the roster and get a realistic picture for where we're sitting. Fullback-wise, Anthony Sherman. Wide receiver-wise, we should probably keep Stanley Morgan around. So this is one of the positions that I said maybe we should go out and look at potentially getting a depth wide receiver. So we'll do that real quick. Tight end, I'm pretty comfortable where we're at. Offensive line, I'm pretty comfortable with what we've added. Like I said, I think in the draft we're certainly going to be looking for a role player at right guard, and we could potentially look for someone to play right tackle for us. I like Chukwuma Okorafor a little bit, but he's obviously not the perfect solution at right tackle. We will be looking to add potentially another D lineman in the draft, but I would be comfortable in the future playing DJ Reader and Harrison Phillips once Geno Atkins starts to regress. But Geno Atkins is still a really good player at this point. Linebacker wise, we have a 77 in Shaquem Griffin, which is good. Logan Wilson is looking decent, and Darren Lee is there. I don't see a whole lot of reason to look elsewhere. And then I think we can probably put Tony Brown on our practice squad, and I think we're good. I think that's where we want to be. I don't think I have a whole lot of positions to look at here. I think what I will do is I will go ahead and look at signing a depth wide receiver and potentially a depth halfback and scout and move on to the draft. So wide receiver wise, a lot of these guys want a lot of money. I initially wanted to sign Torrey Smith, but I feel like this is just maybe too much money to offer a guy like this. I guess it couldn't hurt to give him a 1-year deal, just with a little bit more money than we would typically want to give him. Then again, I could probably go and get somebody for a little bit less money here. Willie Snead, maybe? What does he want? See, he wants, around the same type of money. A lot of these wide receivers out here want that type of money, and, a lot of these guys aren't going to get signed. So I think what might be the best move, to be honest with you guys, is just wait for these guys to fall to free agency after the draft and just pick them up in preseason. A late signing just to bolster the roster. I'm not loving any of these guys out here, so I think we're just going to go ahead and probably move on from this. Marquise Goodwin as a depth, $4 million is too much. They'll probably be cheaper when it comes to, after the draft. Same thing with halfbacks. They want too much money. I know I have the money to spare, but it's just not worth it for me. Let's go ahead and scout now that we have extra points and we know what to focus on. We're probably going to look to draft maybe a wide receiver here at some point. So things have changed a bit. I don't think we have any of the wide receivers scouted. Yeah, we're not going to draft a receiver top of the draft. So we're going to go like second round and later. And just take a look, see if there's anybody here that could kind of bolster our roster in later rounds. So some good guys here. We'll star them, and we'll probably build up a draft board real quick before we're done here. Let's scout these two guys and keep it rolling. Fifth-year options. They're going to give us the option to sign John Ross. That is a good one. Do I want to do the fifth-year option? No, I actually don't. Is he worth keeping around long term? Yes, but I don't want to do the 5th-year option because I want to sign him to a cheaper contract now before he becomes too high of an overall that I have to pay him more, especially being that he's a wide receiver and he's going to demand a lot of money. So we're going to decline his 5th-year option and try to negotiate a contract with him this year. Let's do a little bit more scouting. I think we found a good couple wide receivers to target there. And I don't know why it's lagging. It's going real slow right now for some reason. Wide receivers, offensive line, D-line, linebackers, corners. So I wanted to look at potentially maybe like later halfbacks. Not loving what I'm seeing here. So let's go with some more of these wide receivers. Let's go with these second. I mean, a lot of these. Yeah, there are some good second-round talent wide receivers. And we don't got to sign anybody, so this is going to go pretty quick. We got our last round of scouting here. So we know we're pretty solid on O-line. We know we're pretty solid scouted on linebackers. Finish up scouting some skill positions on offense, I think, and we should be good to go from there. I think I do want to just scout a couple of these guys. You know, it might be worth picking somebody a little bit later on. Let's go to our halfbacks. Let's just get a couple more. I like the idea of getting potentially a good receiving back. Yeah, there we go. Sean Ross. John Ross's little brother or cousin or something like that. That's potentially a good pick for us. I like that. So we can just finish some of these guys off. And I think we're ready for the draft, guys. I guess I could set a draft board here. This is one of the tips that I would give you guys, that before the draft, highly recommend that you guys set a draft board by starring the players that you want. And then whenever you go to draft board here, by pressing L2, you can reorder these guys. You can put by holding X or A on Xbox, I guess it would be, you can put the top guy at the top that you would want to draft first. So, you know, you can do that like this. I'm not going to go through and take the time to set up a huge draft board for you guys, but this is something that you absolutely want to do on your own, especially if there's any risk that the draft potentially gets simulated for you. If the draft gets simulated in any way, it will take players off of your draft board for you in the order that you have them set. So that's a really effective way that you can draft, especially if for some reason you can't be around for your league's draft. You can set a draft board and it'll draft for you. With that being said, let's go ahead, let's get into it. Let's get the draft. I think this is what everybody's been waiting for. Like I said, if you just tuned in or anything, if you guys want to see this series continued further, you got to let me know in the comment section, and let me know by hitting the like button. And start the draft.
The Broncos are now on the clock.
Alright, so we're just going to skip ahead. We're not going to play through every single pick. We had 16th overall pick, right around where we thought we would pick. And for the purposes of this draft, I'm going to pause it, though I don't think I'll need more time than's on the board. Let's go ahead and see what's there. So we're looking at O-line. Some good offensive linemen here, probably worth picking. And we're looking at linebackers. So some good second round guys here. Probably not worth reaching on them, though I do want linebackers. I think probably the guy that we're going to really target is Rashad Adkins, right outside linebacker. Nothing here that excites me. Same thing with corner. It looks like Bart Howard's going to be a really good player, but we don't desperately need a safety. So it looks like offensive line's going to be the choice, unless I see something at another position that really sticks out. D-tackle doesn't immediately help us. there is this first round tight end out of UCF. Mid first rounder, so he would be, this is another tip that I want you guys to know. By looking at what it says their true talent grade is in the bottom right, you can figure out whether they're a worthwhile pick at your specific pick. So we're picking at pick 16. It says that Walter Bradley is a mid first round talent, which means he's like pick 11 through pick 20 or pick 11 through pick 21. If it said early first round talent, he'd be a top 10 pick, and you can pretty much guarantee that their overall is going to be similar to what that dictates. So all the top 10 picks will be around the same overall. All the mid first rounders will be around the same overall. All the late first rounders will be around the same overall. So, you know, we find a guy that's a mid first round talent, but if we go and find a guy that is an early first round talent, then that means that they are a higher overall. So we see Rayshawn Church, he's a late first round talent. He's probably not worth taking at this pick over top of the tight end that is a mid first round talent, if that makes sense to you guys. And let's look at these O-linemen, the first round talent guys. This guy's an early first round talent, so we know he's going to be really good. So I think this is our pick here, unless some of these other first round offensive linemen turn out to be better than that. Thomas Mills is a mid first rounder. Tevin Bronson, late first rounder. Gilbert Mays, mid first rounder. So it looks like, so we have two early first rounders to choose from here. So we can pick the right tackle that has a decent combine, really good strength, really good run blocking stats, or we can choose the left tackle that is even stronger, had an even better combine, and has good run blocking stats. 23 years old, so he's 1 year older. So I'm looking at the differences here. 6'8", 338, 6'8", 333. I mean, these guys are like, you know, carbon copies of each other. Thurman Stokes, however, has an A, an A minus, and a B plus, whereas Max Berg has an A minus, A minus, and A minus. They average out to be about the same. I think I'm going to go with the right tackle. I don't know. Which one's better for us? These guys look good. I honestly think that the left tackle is going to be better. I mean, this guy's combine was better, so let's go with it, see if he's good. There we go. 78 overall tackle, as you guys can see, high overall. So all of those early first round guys are going to be around a 78 overall. You know, you can kind of start to peg that in. 93 strength, really good stats all around. Immediate fantastic add for this team. So let's go ahead and move forward to the next pick.
The Bengals are now on the clock.
So we had the 5th overall pick in the 2nd round. Don't remember how we acquired that. That was one of our trades. I assume that was from the Colts. Take a look at the O-lineman again and see what's there. There's another first round guy left. So he's a mid first rounder, so we know that he's going to be a good player. I'm just looking to see basically, is there another mid first round talent at another position? I think it's worth it for us to add to linemen, to be truthful with you. Cornerbacks, those guys are taken. 2nd round talent guys. Patrick Foster's a late first. Staley, late first. So we are going to go with the right guard. The right guard is a mid-first round player, should be really good for us. 76 overall, hidden development. As you guys can see, 2 absolute monsters at offensive line for us drafted already. Let's just keep it rolling. We probably have too many picks, to be honest with you guys. I just wanted to get more picks just to kind of make it look, just to kind of get you guys as much experience with the draft as possible. I think this is a good position to go with the late first round wide receiver, unless there's another guy that I think is going to be, you know, incredible for us. I am going to scroll through just to check. Some 2nd round linemen. I think the D tackle, one of these guys might be good, might be more worthwhile to take. BBB, B plus BB, and those were both late firsts. Those guys could be worthwhile to take. We could take a second round linebacker. I'd rather it not be a late second rounder though, because that means that their overall's dropping off significantly. I'd rather find like a mid or early second rounder at a position of need. So that's kind of disappointing that there's nothing like that there. Doing a little bit more searching through just to see what's up. There are a couple of good D tackles there. I'm going to look at these O linemen that say they're second round grade. So Taylor Donnell is an early second rounder, which means that he's almost a first round grade. I kind of like that a bit. Tyree Levine is a mid-second rounder. I almost feel like I have to go position of need though, just to try and help the team out. We need a wide receiver and we need a D tackle. There are some other good receivers here though that I would feel comfortable taking, so I think we go with the D tackle just to help ourselves out. Now, it's a matter of, do we go with this D tackle or do we go with the other one? So 30 reps on the bench press isn't that great. He's a run stopper. They're both run stoppers. Pursuit, play recognition, tackle. Pursuit, tackle, block shedding. Block shedding is one of his top stats. I'm not in love with either of these guys. I think I'm going to go with another offensive lineman. I know that it's a little bit out there. We know that Taylor Donnell is an early second rounder, so I think we're going to go with him just to get another offensive lineman pick. 69 overall, so he should develop into a decent lineman for us. He has decent stats, a little bit weak in the finesse grade there. So 69 overall for an early second rounder. We know that the overalls are starting to drop off quite significantly here in the second round. That is something that you're going to want to note. And we're going to see what's left here for us. Like I said, some of these wide receivers, some of them got taken. I really like this guy, Sean Ross, late. To me, that seems like a good pick. Halfbacks, nothing there left that I wanted. Third round tight end, probably not going to be that great. Mid-second round offensive lineman. Do I take yet another lineman? Probably not, but D tackle. These D tackles are still here. There's still a late first round D tackle left, so we'll go ahead and take him. 71 overall. Decent player. Good strength, good block shedding. I'll take that. We're starting to fill in, getting decent overalls. This is kind of the point in the draft where you potentially start to look at trading away some of your picks. So we didn't find a whole lot of like steals along the offensive line. That's certainly worth noting. A lot of the D tackles are gone now. There is a second round linebacker in Rashad Adkins, so I think that might be our pick. Unless I really feel strongly that I want to add a receiver, which I don't. I mean, Sean Ross is still there, so I think that's worth waiting on him. So Rashad Adkins is the pick. He does have an A- grade in hip power. Decent combine, not the greatest. 67 overall. Not a huge ad for us, but 67 overall at this point in the draft in the fourth round, not too bad. Like I said, you really got to pay attention to the grade, the true talent grade on the players. Wide receiver wise, Sean Ross, are you still there? We do really want Sean Ross. We just got to make sure that there isn't anybody out here that's like a steal that's left before we take him. There's still a third-round offensive lineman out here. You know, we already added quite a few offensive linemen, but, you know, you can never be too sure in terms of drafting too many offensive linemen. We have another linebacker out here, a third-rounder that could be worthwhile. Fourth-round corner. Free safety, strong safety. I think we go with the wide receiver that we want. Just get him while he's there. He's not going to be great. I mean, we know he's a fifth-round talent, but actually he's kind of slow. I just kind of appreciate the fact that his name's Sean Ross. I guess I should probably be looking at the actual physical stats of these players. You know what? Let's go with the right tackle. He's a third-round player. 65 overall. Decent guy. Yellows in most categories. A little weak in his run block power and his pass block finesse, but a decent player. 65 overall this late in the draft is pretty solid. I'm hoping that linebacker sneaks through to us, although I can't no, we don't have any picks left. That was our final pick. And I would say, oh no, we do. Let's see what's left. Did anything slip through the cracks to us? Is it worth taking a projected third-round player that we don't know a lot about? We do need a wide receiver, so that's that could potentially be a pick for us. There's not a lot here, that's for sure. Left tackle, left guard, right guard. We know Matt McDaniel's there, but the thing to note on him is he'll probably be there after the draft. We've gotten to the 7th round, and there's a bunch of players still here. We'll just have to remember his name, because he might be a decent overall when we get out there to free agency. And this is a point where you're honestly just looking for combine grades that stood out. Anybody that's fast to try to develop. You know, a 4.61 in the 40-yard dash, that could be a decent add at linebacker. He's probably not a high overall by any means. Dudley Sims looks like a half-decent run support safety. I think we might just take the third-round projected wide receiver. I don't know if he's slipped for one particular reason or another. This guy's got a 4.43. This guy's a 4.58, so he's slow. I don't think we can reach on a guy like that. I think here we just maybe draft for somebody with speed. We're not really seeing a whole lot. We can probably go out there and get a cut. We saved a little bit of cap space, so we can probably go out there and find a couple half-decent players in free agency for wide receivers. So what I'm actually going to do here, I'm going to look at the offers that they have for us to trade this pick away. So we're getting a 5th-round selection next year. I'm not loving any of the options to draft here, so I'm just going to take the opportunity to trade this pick away. Somebody else really wants to move in. Let them take what they want, and I think we did a pretty solid job drafting there. We didn't have a ton of draft picks, but for where we were picking, we ended up with some pretty good players. So let's see our draft recap here. So we ended up with a 78 overall left tackle. He'll play right tackle for us. We ended up with a 76 overall guard, 69 overall guard, 71 overall D tackle, 67 overall middle linebacker, and 65 overall right tackle. Only one hidden dev, so that was a little bit unfortunate for us, but we were building through the O-line mostly and depth players at the other positions, so that should help us out quite a bit. We're just going to go ahead and advance to preseason because there are a couple players that we need to pick up. I want to go to right guard and see if that right guard is there for us. I don't remember what his name is, and he's probably not a great overall. He's 59. What is he, a pass protector? Not a very good player. Alright, so what we need to do here, and I do this after every single draft, I go through position by position and just make sure that we have what we need. I think I want to look to see if there are any other half-decent halfbacks out there. I'm going to have to add 2 receivers at least, depth receivers at the very least. We will take Berg and put him at right tackle. That's not right tackle. Give him a number in the 70s. Appreciate the fact that he's got a crazy face mask and a dark visor. So there we go. We got Berg. And then we will take our right guard and leave him there. 2 young right guards, center, left guard. So we're looking solid here. We might have to cut a couple guys at O-line because we have quite a few. D-line is looking good. I'm actually pretty happy with that. Might be worthwhile to add 1 more D-tackle. Middle linebacker, not the greatest in the world. Obviously, that linebacker class was a little weak. We probably could have gone linebacker in the first round, but I thought it was a little less important than the O-line. So we'll look in free agency here just to see if there are any middle linebackers for us, but I doubt it. Nobody that's going to be young that'll help us out. So pretty much all we have to add here is a couple of wide receivers, and then we would go through preseason, make our cuts, and I mean that's where the team will be. Let me add a couple receivers. Like I said, these guys can be added for reasonably cheap, and we don't have to give them any guaranteed money. Nelson Aguilar is probably a decent add. Let's go through, sort by age. There is a 21-year-old Tyler Johnson out there. That's odd. We will sign the 21-year-old 69 overall. I figure that can't hurt. And then we're going to sign just a higher overall player. Nelson Aguilar, Keelan Cole. Might as well just sign them both. We have a little bit of money to throw around, so we'll bring them in and let them compete for that 4th spot. Tight end wise, not a lot there. D tackle wise, we said maybe 1 more D tackle. We're looking for someone with strength and block shedding. This guy probably wouldn't realistically be there, but we'll sign him as a depth add. And I think that's about it. I mean, that's where our team's going to be. Whenever we get to the end of preseason, we will have to obviously cut some people because we're up to 61 players. But if we generate best lineup here, I'd say that this is a pretty successful rebuild so far. I don't know about you guys, and we've done it pretty minimalistically, no crazy trading. I think our biggest trade was bringing in a lineman by trading away a star wide receiver. But other than that, we've built in-house, and this is just kind of an example that you guys can do it yourselves. We added a star right guard, added a really good right tackle that's young, that'll probably progress into a good player. Traded for this left guard. That was our only trade. We added Walker in the offseason. We'll probably be looking to draft a tight end within the next season or add a tight end in free agency. Not a big deal. We are good at these other positions. We're pretty solid at wide receiver. I don't see any reason why we would be upset with having Tyler Boyd, T. Higgins, and John Ross at wide receiver. And then defensively speaking, I think we improved the team pretty good. I mean, we didn't need to improve on the D-line, but we did end up adding a couple of good depth defensive tackles since we do run a 4-3. At cornerback, we do have a solid cornerback group. We'll be looking to draft probably a superstar in the future. Safety-wise, we're good. We added Darren Lee in the offseason, and then linebacker is probably our weakest spot. But we improved this team tremendously. We're up to an 83 overall. All of these ratings were below an 80 when we started, somewhere in that high 70s range. We're now up to an 83 overall with an 84 offense and an 83 defense, and this is without playing games. This is simulation. So we didn't earn any crazy XP or anything like that. So hopefully the tips and tricks that I've given you throughout this mini-series have helped you guys out in some way. If you guys want to see me continue this series, make sure that you guys leave me that feedback in the video by leaving a like, commenting down below, and letting me know that you want me to continue this series, and subscribing to the channel if you're new here and you're just catching up with this series. Hopefully this helped you guys out in some way, or if you enjoyed it, hopefully you enjoyed it. I'll see you guys in the next one. Have a good night. See ya.